Let's get right into triads now. We've talked about major triads. We've talked about minor triads. Now we're going to get into seventh triads, seventh chords. Okay, well now a seventh chord, that's got the root, the third, the fifth, and then the flatted seventh. Okay, there are major sevenths and minor sevenths, things like that. We're going to be dealing with the dominant seventh, which is 1, 3, 5, flatted 7. Now, I've got a bunch of examples that are all written out in a PDF, and you can find that link below, and you can get the PDF for all of the resources that we're talking about. And if you haven't watched the major triads and the minor triads, you can get the information for those two in the description below. So let's get started with seventh triads. Now, because it's a 4-note chord, it's going to have not our usual just 3 versions of it. It's going to have a 4th version in there as well. So if you look at the sheet that I have here, we start out. Remember, we have 2 different sets. Now I can play them on different string combinations, but what we're going to be dealing with here is closed voicings. Closed voicings are voicings that are within 1 octave. Open voicings are big, larger than 1 octave. Closed voicings are ones that occur within 1 octave. So that's what we're going to be talking about, is the closed voicings one for 7th chords. So there's 4 different versions of it that start right there at the top of that page, and we're going to talk about the ones in the first set, the 1st through the 3rd strings first. So here they are. Now, in our diagrams, the diamond, the note that has a diamond in it, that's the root. And there are 4 different shapes, and you'll be referencing them by shapes, but I want you to really know them by where the root is at. That's the really important thing. Okay, so this first one, since these are 3-note chords, triad, I'm going to have, and it's a 4-note thing I'm pulling from, 1 note in each of these forms is going to have to be dropped. So which one is it? Well, sometimes it's the root, sometimes it's the 5th, sometimes it's the 3rd. So I just have to drop 1 of the notes. So don't let that throw you. These are really helpful forms to have on your guitar tool belt to be playing with. So the first one, if I was an F, that I'm going to use is an A, an E flat, and an F. The notes in an F dominant 7th chord would be an F, an A, a C, and an E flat. So we've got the A here, we've got the E flat, we've got the F on the 1st string. That's where the root is. Now, the note that we dropped was the C. Okay? Now that's the lowest form. The next one up is an F7 as well. I've got the C here with my 2nd finger, E flat on the 2nd string, and then the A here. So this one doesn't even have an F in it. Okay, this is would be a rootless voicing if you want to talk about it in the biz, how we refer to them there. So I've got this lower one. I've got this one based off of the 3rd there. If you want to relate it to something, it's kind of like a D7. A D7 shape just moved up here to F. Okay. The next one is this one. I've got an E flat here at the 8th fret of the 3rd string. I got my F, there's my root, on the 2nd string, and I've got my pinky down here playing the C on the 1st string. That's a really funky form. Works great for an F7, okay? So we've got 3 forms. We've got this one, we've got this one, we've got this one. There's one more I can squeeze in here. That's way up here at the 10th position. I've got an F here on the 3rd string, an A with my bar with the 1st finger kind of barred down there, and then I've got my 2nd finger on this high E flat. And after that, they just start repeating. Those are all F7 triads. Now, I realize that there's a lot of forms that we have learned so far, and these are 4 more I'm laying on you, and before it's done, I'm going to give you 4 more on top of that. So all in all, we've probably learned 20-ish sort of forms. Well, I don't know. Let's see. They would have been, well, yeah, they would have been major and minor. So it's about 20-ish forms we're we're going to put together. But remember the goal. Remember the goal. Don't get lost in the forms. Remember the goal. The goal is being able to play chord progressions anywhere on the neck without having to go back to, you know, if you see an F, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do, I go default to that. Well, you know, now you've got 20 different other things you can play by just thinking about it for a little bit. So those forms, again, if I were to practice them, I would maybe go down to the next line and do 4 beats each. So it'd be like 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and then I just go back down. So I'm just practicing the forms. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Don't just do them once. Okay, a lot of guys they'll do something once and they'll think, oh well, I've done it. No, you don't know it until you can do it without thinking about it. Okay, just because you conquered it once, you know, it's like solving a math problem. Just because I solved it once doesn't mean that I really know it. So do these and do them again and do them again. So now if I wanted to add a little bit of rhythm to that, the next example down there, I'm just going to do a dotted eighth, dotted quarter to an eighth rhythm. Kind of make it a little funkier. Let's kind of put a little bit of a middle pick up here. So it's be like, and I change forms. Just keep the same rhythm there. All of that works over at F. So you got 8 bars of an F in a tune. What are you going to do? You know, now you have all these different options of things you can do. You know, another little trick that you can do, if you turn the page, is I can slide into these notes. So I'm kind of sneaking in some technique things into our forms as well. So if I moved them up, let's say, to the key of G, okay, so just 2 steps up, instead of F7, now we're at a G7. So now my shapes are up here. But I'm going to slide into them. Now, that if you're familiar with sliding, that's not going to be any problem. If you're new to it, basically I start with the shape, a step down usually, and then just, so I just really quickly, and then I start it a half step below, and then slide and land where I want it to go. Again, I've created a whole long progression out of one chord and one shape with 4 different shapes of that, breaking up that triad. If you've got questions, please type them in all caps and put them down here. I'll try to get to those in a little bit here. All right, if I wanted to go up just a half step, some of these start getting too high. Remember how we talked about that in the major and minor? Once they get above the 13th fret, then I can also play it an octave down. So the first time that happens is in the key of A flat. So in the key of A flat, this form, which was way up here, can also be played down here. So the lowest form has now swapped, and now this is the lowest form. Okay, and then the next one. Let's see, what am I doing? There you go. A flat. Now the next time, it also, if I keep going up through the keys, it will swap again at the key of C. So C7, now that form starts here. I can slide into that maybe. Just practice the sliding and the forms. These are all shapes. So as you're going through, I would encourage you to go through every key. Don't just go through a couple of them. And I only have, 4 or 5 of them written down here. Go through every key. That's going to help you learn them. Now, if you go up to the next form, which is D7, that's the last time that it flips. And I just added kind of a 16th note, sort of a shape there. So that rhythm is going to be zaga-da-dat. So here's my rhythm, dabba-do-dat. Okay. bit of slides, a little bit of a funkier rhythm, and next thing you know, you've got a memorable guitar part that you're able to create. So how do we practice these? Well, the first thing is you need to learn the forms. There's 4 forms in this first batch that we're learning. Okay, if I went back into the key of F, there you go. Once you learn the forms, then go through each key. How you do this is go through them chromatically first. So F, and then I would do them in F sharp. You know, and work our way up in F sharp. Then I do them in G. Then I do them in A flat, remembering that it swaps down here. A, you know, B flat, B, C natural. Going up and down. Just turn on the metronome and go through all the keys. Oh, Steve, that's going to take forever. It'll take you, put your metronome at 60 or 70, 4 beats each. In 5 minutes, you will have gone through, well, probably more like 10 minutes, you will have gone through every key. Okay? So it's not, oh my goodness, this is going to take all of my life. Invest some time into your craft. You know, I would encourage you, don't let the work of this take away from what you could be learning from it, what you could be gaining from it. You know, never having to always play open chords whenever you come across a progression, but be able to play something further up on the neck. These little triads are little seeds to great guitar parts. So that's the first way I would do it, is do them chromatically. Then after that, once you got that down, then, you know, a couple days later, I would do them in a cycle of fourths, which we've talked about before. So I'd do them in F, and then I'd go to the 4th of F, which is a B flat, F, G, A, B flat. I'd do them in the key of B flat. Then the 4th of B flat, C, D, E flat, E flat to A flat to D flat, G flat. And then, you know, switch over F sharp, B, E, A, D, G. There's only 12 keys. A lot of times folks get overwhelmed and they think, oh my goodness, it's a gazillion keys. No, it's 12, really. Now, it may seem like a lot as you're just learning these, but once you get the hang of it, it comes a whole lot easier. So do them chromatically first, then do them in fourths, and then do them and do them and do them again. All right, flip the page. Let's get to some fun stuff. So those are the shapes. Now, before we get to our patterns, which is some great blues patterns we can play with these 7th chords, I wanted to just kind of put these all together, the major, the minor, and the 7th, so you can see how they all are related to each other. A major triad, 1, 3, 5, and F would be this in the first inversion down here, or in our opening inversion. Minor, here's the 3rd. For minor, I flat the 3rd, so this note needs to go back to here, and I end up with that form of my F minor. For the 7th, it's right there. So I would play them all together. F major, F minor, F7. Get that set together. Then let's go up to the next set. So I have the F major here, I have F minor here, and then I have F7 there. Now the 3rd is on the top. There's the flatted 3rd, there's the flatted 7th there. So my next inversion up, I have an F here, here's the 3rd, now it goes down to that, and then what do we have here? There's the form for that. Now we do have this extra form up here because the 7ths have an extra form. We're not going to worry about that. So F major, F minor, F7, F major, F minor, F7. All right. Now, so I would play those in the various keys so you get a handle on which one's major, which one's minor, what's the 7th form. Okay, let's get to a couple of patterns and then I'll answer some questions here. Look at the next thing down there, 7th chord triad patterns. All right, here's the gig. We're starting to get into the real purpose of all of these last 3 times of teaching. Here's my secret hidden goal. The 1, the 6 minor, the 4, the 5, which we've already done before, but now we're going to make the 5 a dominant 7th. We're going to make it a 5-7. Okay, so we're just going to make a slight adjustment there. Those 4 chords, 1, 6 minor, 4, and 5, cover about 98% of all the songs you've ever heard are using, in any key, the one chord, the chord built off of the first step of the scale, the chord built off of the fourth step of the scale, chord built off of the fifth step of the scale, chord built off of the sixth step of the scale. 1 is major, 4 is major, 5 is now major, but now we're going to add the seventh, dominant seventh to it, and the sixth is a minor. Okay? So in order to practice those 4 pivotal chords in these different inversions, take a look at that bottom line on that page. F major, D minor, B flat, C. Look, I covered all of these chords with, and I barely moved my hand. F, D minor, I just moved one finger, B flat, C7. Do you see how advantageous this could be? I look at these studio guys, and they're playing all these complex changes, and they're basically only moving one finger here, one finger there. That's the secret, to make a progression that sounds like it goes together. If I go to the next inversion up, I have F major here, D minor there, B flat, and then the closest C7 is right there. So the gig is, I want to go to the closest form no matter what it is. There's F, D minor, so there's B flat. Now, I could play that B flat, but I'd have to jump out of the form, and that's, we're trying to stay close. Okay? If you get bored with just doing them as a straight chord, then do an arpeggio. Or I could maybe do one note and then the others. I don't care what you do. It's about the forms. It's not about the rhythm, okay? Just make whatever rhythm that sounds good. Turn on a drum machine, turn on a little drum loop or a metronome, and be creative, okay? The last one, the upper changes. I have an F major up here, D minor there, the closest one is a B flat there. Now, the C7, I could go back here for this one. Then I'm back to F. F, D minor, B flat. Now I could go up here to this C, or maybe C7, but the closest one is right here. Now there's no rules to it, but I generally want to try and stay in the same area of the guitar. All right, so now let's play some patterns and see how they jump. So we've practiced, we know the forms, now we've gone through the 1, 6 minor, 4, 5, let's jump them. Whew, I know I'm stretching you. If you just started with this, it's going to take you a while to get the forms down. Just realize I'm pushing you. Every exercise is pushing you a little bit further out. Here's an F. So now I jump. I don't play the same one. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to jump the form to the next form. One version of F, the next inversion of F. Then the D minor, I have the low one. Then I have the next one up. I have a B flat. Then I go the next one up. C7. Next one up. Look at the next line. Now I go from the middle one to the upper one. I skipped all the way up here to the high one. All right. I know that seems complicated. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I'm slide into them. Let's see. Add another. Let me see what else I could do with it. Let's make a little track. I tell you what. So I'm going to make a little track for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. Let me try it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. between all of that, I created this little guitar part with it. Okay, look at the next one down here. Let's get into some dominant 7th grooves here. So here's a great one that I use all the time. This is like going from an F7 to a B flat suspended. I have a B flat, an E flat, an F there. Kind of a funky little pattern there. That's a good one. I'll use that one all the time. Look, I put down another one, an F to a B flat. This one's kind of a, let me kind of get my middle pick up here. Actually, no, let's mix some Strat in. I've got a cool, funky little guitar part when the chords are just going F, B flat, F, B flat. Okay? Now, if you didn't have something like that, you would be going, which is cool and all, but there are other options. All right, there you go. That's another fun one there. All right. Flip the page. Let's go into some other stuff. We've learned the forms on the first set, the 1st through the 3rd string. Now I'm going to show you the ones for the middle set, from the 2nd string to the 4th string. Okay, this is the last set of forms that we're going to learn in this whole series. Okay, you ready? Hang on. We got 4 more forms. I've got an F7 here. Now I can play that. First finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, or I could do it as a bar. The great thing when you do it as a bar, I can kind of hammer on this 2nd finger, and you end up with something like this. Hear that little ba-dup, ba-dup? Just that little hammer on with the 2nd finger really kind of gives it that bluesy feel. The next one, 2nd finger, 1st finger, 3rd finger, or the 4th finger, either one of them. Okay. Next one is kind of like that form, so it's easy to get turned around on. But the root is at the top. There's the F, then an A and an E flat there. Another great form. Hey, look what if I did the top form above it. There's the middle. There's the upper one. Again, I got a cool little guitar part. All I'm doing is that one shape. Okay. What's next? The next one up there is this one, a C, an E flat, an F, and an A. Excuse me. So those are the 4 shapes. This one. How do I learn them? Just jump through them a bunch of times. Like we did before, just run them through, run them up, run them down. Various keys. If I go up the key of G, then I'm back here. I can slide maybe. If I run them up to the key of B flat, I have my first flip down, and I end up with a B flat down here. And the next form is this. Next form is here. Next form is here. What if I did a little dap, goo, gap, bop, 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 sort of a rhythm? What if I did the same rhythm and moved it up to a C7? Well, then I have another switch. There's my new form, which got up here. Now it's flipped down to there. Now we're in C7. Now, they do continue up. So don't forget, there are some up here, but I'm just, for our sake of being consistent, I'm just flipping at the 13th fret once they get above there. So that's C. If I continue up, C sharp, D, D sharp. The next flip happens at E. There. Let's go back to our 16th note rhythm. Shaka-do-gap. 1, 2, E, go. Okay, that's the first one. Next one is right there. What if I did the next one? And what if I did the next one? What if I wanted to just turn on a metronome and see if you can come up with something more creative? Put on a little groove. Let's get our groove going here. So if I did a little pattern to it, 2, 3, 4. What if I added those other forms to it? What if I just take a part of that form? Move back and forth. What if I did the next form up, did the same thing? Do you see how I can get really creative? All I'm doing is these forms, parts of those forms, I'm just using them to create these guitar parts. Suddenly I created a pretty cool little riff there by just doing parts of those chords. All right, before I get to questions, let me show you these last couple of cool things. All right, here's where it starts paying off. Look at that one, the top of the last page. We're going to go back to the key of F. Let me get reset my thing there. And if I had an F, this is one of my favorite ones. I have an F7 to a B flat, major, to an F7. You're doing a little hammer on too. I'm just repeating that first measure. How many times have you heard blues guys when they're doing it? They just... That's all that lick is. A seventh with a little hammer on to the major, B flat, back to the seventh. So I can just vamp. If it just says F7 for a long time, I can just vamp between that 1 and 4 through all of that. Okay, take a look at the next one. Okay, what do we have next one? I've got this one. What's my closest, or let's see, no, it'd be this one. So I'm going to go F7, B flat 7. All right, what do we have next? I've got this F7 up here. Let's see, the closest B flat would be right here. Better get my groove going here. It's hard for me to play all these parts the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. Try 1, 2, 3, 4. What if I did some of these other patterns? Okay, I'm going to keep that going. Now, another thing you can do is go back and forth. So I'm going to take the upper form, which is what, up here? And I'm just going to go back and forth. Back and forth. I can do that on any of these forms. Okay, you get the idea. Lots of cool things I can do by just learning a couple of these. These are some of my favorites there. All right, last one. Hey, I was coming across a song the other day, and or I was thinking about what can I do to illustrate this. And we've had some good songs that we've come through. We did Sultans of Swing. What did we do last week? We did The Eagles, Hotel California. This week, when I was thinking about what song we could use, a great one for these inner triads is the old Paul Simon song, You Can Call Me Al. Cool part, absolutely cool part. Now, if I didn't have the triads, I would be going. Not cool at all, okay? I'm just doing F major to the nearest C, down to the nearest B flat, back up. All downstrokes, nice and punchy. Let me add a little bit of the strat pickup in it. Now, the actual guitar player on the part, I don't know what it is, when he gets to the verse part, he's kind of doing something else. So. Kind of go up to this, the minor, G minor, C, back to the F. And then we get to the riff of the middle. What if I did the upper triads? Hey, let's do the upper ones. This time. All different inversions, creating great guitar parts using these little triad and these inversions there. All right, let's land this plane. Here's the deal. If you can play 1, 6 minor, 4, and 5, 7 in any key, then you've got this down in any inversion. That's where I want you, that's our big goal for all of this series. If you can do a 1, 6 minor, 4, and now a 5, 7 in any key, you've got all these different places on the neck that you can play them. All right, so if we practice that, I would first practice them in the keys that are commonly used for guitar, which are your caged keys. C, the key of C, the key of A, the key of G, the key of E, the key of D. I would practice 1, 6 minor, 4, 5, 7. If I did them in the key of C, let's see, if I did them, let's see, it would be 4, F, now G7. What if I did the next version up? To A minor now, to F here, G7. What if I did up here? 2, 3, 4, 6 minor, here comes the F, 2, 3, here's the G7. What if I did it on the lower strings? 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, G. If you can play those 4 chords in all of these different inversions, going up and down the neck, which you should now, should be able to play them in 3 on the high strings, 3 on the middle strings. So you've got at least 6 different inversions that you can play for that progression. Play it in all 6 inversions in key of C, then the key of A, the key of G, the key of E, the key of D. Once you can do that without hesitating, then do them in all the other keys as well. Once you can do all those keys, 1, 6 minor, 4, 5, 7, then hey, you've learned what I wanted to teach you. You've learned what I've wanted to teach you. Then you can get creative with that. You should be starting to see that when you're playing these, you're never far from any chord. So like, oh my goodness, I need to jump here to get an F minor or whatever. No. There's an F minor there. There's an F minor there. Oh my goodness, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So you're never more than a step or two from away from any chord. I've given you major forms now, I've given you minor forms, and now I've given you 7th forms. We've covered all three food groups of triads for you. So practice those. Practice the major. I realize I can just spout it off. It takes, 40 minutes here. But for you to learn it may take several weeks or a month or 2. Don't give up on learning these. Let me answer a couple of questions here before we go. Sharon is saying, is there a rule to follow when identifying which note to drop? The short answer is, Sharon, there's not really a rule. I would just focus on the forms that I gave you there. Those are I play guitar all the time. Those are the forms that I use. Okay. Now there are some other ones. Those are the forms that are the most useful. Jason is asking, would you ever want to change the note that is dropped or stick it to the forms? Hey, yeah, if you want to add that note, add it. If you think you got a place for it, here's an F7, but I don't have an F close by. It's right there. Add it. Here, what am I missing? The C. Feel free to add it. Be creative. Excuse me. Lee is saying, about ascending and descending arpeggios up and down the neck. Yes. Play them as arpeggios up and down the neck. Play them one note and then the other notes. You never know when you might use that. Throw in a little distortion, a little bit of delay. Well, maybe not that much delay, huh? That's a little too much. I must have been playing something that had a lot of delay. Maybe I just make that even simpler. Maybe I can tap my delay at the right time. 2, 3, 4. Okay, crank up the repeats. Crank up my effects. You can create all kinds of funky little guitar parts by messing around with those. Let me answer a couple more questions here. Someone is asking, what pickups have I got there? This is a Telecaster, custom Telecaster by Valley Arts Guitars. A great instrument. Valley Arts was a small guitar company that started out in California. I heard about them through a Larry Carlton video. Larry Carlton played Valley Arts. Then Valley Arts, eventually Gibson bought Valley Arts there for a while, and the maker of these guitars, Mike McGuire, came down here, and they did several custom models, of which this is one of them. This is a Brent Mason custom model that was made after Brent Mason, great guitarist here in Nashville, kind of a copy of his his setup. It's got a mini humbucker here in the front, kind of gives a great jazz sound. A honkin' Telecaster stacked pickup back here, Seymour Duncan, and then in the middle, this is sort of a Strat Seymour Duncan stacked pickup there, so I can add in the Strat sound to these. Rick is saying, what do you do for a minor seventh when their form has no third? Okay, hey, a minor seventh with no third, you just canceled it out. You just answered your own question right there. If I have no third, the third is what defines the major or the minor. If I have no third, let's say in this form, which is an F7, okay? Well, Steve, could that work for a dominant seventh with a major triad with a dominant seventh? Yes. Could it work for minor? Sure. Trying to give you the minor so you can kind of feel it. It works good for both because it doesn't have the third in it. So I can use it for both because the third's not going to clash with either major or minor since there's no third in it. So actually the forms without the third are really cool and usable because I can use them in major or in minor. Okay. Larry is saying, would this be a great foundation for comping jazz standards? Yes, you can add these triads, little bits of chords to create arrangements of songs, to do jazz standards. Let's say I wanted to do, well, listen, jazz, but I mean I could do I could do maybe Tennessee Waltz. Let's see. G7, C, G major, E minor, D, going up to the G7, C, G, D7, right up those triads. You'd be amazed at how much you can put these to use if you want to do it. If you want to try and harmonize a melody, just start throwing in, if it's a major chord, throw in the nearest major triad for that with the melody note on top. Okay? One more question. Maria is asking, am I playing the E string on these forms or muting them? Well, when I'm on the first through the third strings, then I'm playing the top E string, excuse me, that top highest string. When I'm on the second through the fourth string, then no, I'm not playing that high E string. I'm just playing those middle four strings. So when you're doing that, you need to choke it down a little bit. So I can't go. I gotta be, if I do, I have to be really careful not to hit that first string. Usually when you're doing that, I have to choke it down a little bit more for that. Great questions. Okay. Whew. There you go. We have covered major triads. We have covered minor triads. We've covered seventh chords now and doing in triads. This little lesson series, I hope you have gained some understanding of on your guitar, there's a whole lot of possibilities of things you can do rather than open chords. And that's what I wanted you to learn from this. So practice, practice, practice. 1, 6 minor, 4, 5, 7 now in these various keys, and see if you can't open up some creativity and some great guitar parts on your own. I hope you've enjoyed this series. Check out our other resources if you're interested, and we will see you guys next time.